everybody. Welcome back to the latest edition of Terrace Talk. They've all been pretty miserable of late, given the way that Norwich City's season is going. And we've got opposition this Saturday that are on a little bit of a rise at the moment. And that's, of course, Cardiff City. The long journey to Wales faces us on Saturday. And with that, delighted to be joined by Jez. Jez, first and foremost, thanks for giving up your time this evening. I really do appreciate that. And we'll get straight into it. 7th in the league at the moment, 1 point outside the playoffs. I mean, you spoke just off camera there about some sort of difficult seasons you've had to endure in recent times, but it feels like maybe this season it's all clicking. What have you made of it so far?
Yeah, I think we've had lots of seasons down the bottom, or at least bottom half. We've been quite disjointed as a club, both on and off the pitch. But I think there's been some key differences this year. Obviously, we've got a decent manager in Bullet. And I think also it's been nice that when the chairman Dalman's singing off the same hymn sheet, it seems, as well. And obviously everything that Bullet is putting onto the pitch and in training seems to be coming out in the games as well on the weekend. So at the moment, touch wood, it's going as best as at least I could have imagined.
Yeah, where did you maybe pitch the expectations this season before a ball was kicked? Was it kind of just, sort of pushing on from where you were last season, or maybe was top six sort of outside, I suppose, hope that you might get it?
Well, I think we're a great bunch of fans, the Cardiff fans, and I think you could have asked 10 people and had 10 different answers. There were some who were thinking, right, we're going to be top six. The others perhaps doom and gloom, because let's not forget, last season we missed out on relegation. Some could argue just because of the fact that there was a points deduction for a few of the sides down the bottom. That's how close it was for us. So at the moment, for me personally, I'm just happy I would have been happy pre-season with the top half finish. And given the signings we made, obviously we were under a transfer embargo for the last two windows as well, so we couldn't spend any money. It was just loans and frees. We've always all been there at some point. So that's where we are at the moment. So I was happy with A, an improvement, but B, realistically, we've made some good signings. So top half would have been where I would aim, or would have aimed. But obviously we're doing better, and dare I say, we probably got a little bit more in us as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the signings there. It was a busy window at Cardiff. Lots of kind of players that are well known around the Championship, the likes of Colin Grant. Of course, you brought a homecoming for Aaron Ramsey, who seems to have been doing pretty well. What have you made of the business that you've done in the summer, and maybe which ones stood out the most so far?
Well, obviously, start with the headline act, which is Aaron Ramsey. I've got to be honest. I mean, I've watched him obviously throughout his career, and I do a lot of the Wales games myself as well. And he's a great player, but then to put him in the Championship at this stage in his career, he just looks a cut above the rest. He really, really does. Everything just seems to be a lot slower for him. Everything he just reads, it seems to be one step ahead of everybody. You get some of those players in the Championship from time to time who just look that little bit better, and that's where he is. Unfortunately, he's been injured for a good few games now. We're hoping that he's going to be back this year before Christmas, and it seems like he's had a good recovery. So that's a key sign. Other than that, you mentioned Colin Grant. I mean, let's not forget, at some point he went for 10 million plus. So he's done nothing but graft on that left wing for us. We've made some really good signings. Josh Bowler's come in and had a good impact on loan. But equally, a couple of signings from last summer who've perhaps just taken it up a level as well. Perry NG's been great. And also we've got Ollie Tanner, who's almost written in folklore history after his expats against Swansea. So was a bit shaky in his first season, did a couple of loan spells, but really grabbed pre-season by the scruff of the neck. And probably the only other thing worth calling out is the two Greek lads, really, that he's signed in. So Siopis and Goutas, centre midfielder and centre back. What a spine we've got to our team at the moment. When you've got McGuinness and Rouse alongside both of them in their respective positions, we're looking really solid down the middle at the moment.
Yeah, of course, they're all coached by the ex-Fenerbahce manager. Bullet, you mentioned last season, lots of turbulence with the likes of Steve Morrison at the start of the campaign, Larouci towards the end. It was, felt maybe sort of a little bit of that cycle of Championship managers coming in and out, and feels like Bullet's settled in quite well. So what have the Cardiff fans made of him, and what sort of style of football, I suppose, has he brought to the Cardiff City Stadium?
So style of football-wise, really structured, really hard-working. So one of probably the most prominent talking points from the Cardiff City season so far has been the likes of Rubin, Colwill and Robinson, both natural number 10s, both could lock almost any defence in the Championship on their day. But for the first part of this season, they haven't been doing it off the ball, as we say, or defensively. And Bullett's called them out and said, you're just not working hard enough for the team. So we've been playing, with respect to Ryan Wintle, he's been playing in that 10 spot just because of the sheer graft that he puts in for a large part of the season. And that work to a degree obviously has its limits. And that's the kind of emphasis that Bullett puts on working for the team. Everybody gets behind the ball. We've got a great shape and structure. It's only recently, the last 2 or 3 games, that, to be fair, both to Rubin, Colwill and Robinson, they've both shifted it a bit now, and then they're putting a little bit more about, and they've got a lot more about, and they both come on, they both scored goals in recent games, and now you could probably bank that at least one of them will be starting on the weekend.
Yeah, it looks like Cardiff's home form's been pretty key so far this season. Just 1 defeat, and that was back early August against QPR. Norwich terrible on the road, so doesn't leave me overly optimistic for Saturday. What's been the key, I suppose, sort of behind that home form? Has it just been the Cardiff City fans you mentioned, or maybe has it just been Bullett's style of players maybe suited the home games more than the away ones?
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely a lot more comfortable on the ball at home. I think we're doing what we want, and we're dictating play and making it difficult for the opposition. It obviously differs a bit away, as with any side, although we're still making a fair account of ourselves. We had a good 0-0 against Stoke last game. We haven't conceded in over 300 minutes of football, I think, from memory. So you were very, very difficult to concede to score against at the moment. That's a big positive, and I think we will continue that on the weekend. But the fans are great. Attendances are on the way up again, creeping up ever so slowly, which, any club welcomes that. It's really good to see. And then we get some bumper crowds of some of the big ones as well. So it's just the atmosphere, the vibe around the club at the minute. It's really, really positive. So that's making a big impact. I think it's reflecting on the pitch.
Player that a few Norwich fans will be intrigued to know about is Ebi Adams in the Cardiff City ranks. Came through Norwich's academy. Doesn't really look like he's featuring a lot for Cardiff, but what have you made of him? I suppose came in June 2022, didn't really play last season, but sort of noticed that he's played a few appearances so far this season. So how's he getting on?
So last season, I remember in his pre-season friendly, I went to watch it, and he had this freak injury where he he ruptured and ripped his pec muscle off the bone. So that kept him out for the majority of last season. He came back right before the end, and he's been fairly solid. He's a good deputy to what we currently have at the minute. He works hard, grafts, a bit tenacious. So yeah, it's good. But at the moment, look, we're playing well. We've got Rowles and Siopis in the middle. Wintle is just behind them, and if not rotating occasionally with Rowles. So unfortunately for Adams and just like a few people on our bench, we've got a decent bench at the moment. They're just having to wait for either this form to turn or just an injury or something like that. Because at the moment we are just playing well, and the team's picking itself.
Yeah, moving the attention now forward to the game on Saturday. Just intrigued to get your thoughts on whether you've seen much of Norwich so far, whether that be on the TV or sort of through social media, and maybe are you surprised at the way it's unfolding at Carrow Road at the moment?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Josh Sargent is injured, right?
Yeah.
Good.
That's a pretty big one, yeah.
He just seems to score against us and play well against us every time you guys come down here. So, and I think I had a little look beforehand. He's been out for quite a bit, and I think at this level, he's probably one of your standout players going forward. I think he's a top player for Championship. So I'd imagine he's quite a loss. The Championship is a horrible division, as everybody knows, when it's tough to get out. And I think if you get yourself into a bit of a lull or a losing or just a bad patch, it's really hard. There are no easy games, so you're never going to get that game which gives you that momentum boost. You've got to earn it. And perhaps Norwich just need that 1 or 2 really tough results to win and turn it around for them. And then you've got the squad that can do well. I mean, you've got an ample load of really top Championship defenders. There's some goals in there as well. So there's not a lot wrong on paper. Perhaps it's just more that mentality and mindset. You just need that one bit of luck or one good result that'll start flipping things. But hopefully next week.
Yeah, that's the case. Given kind of the pressure on David Wagner, is it maybe, I suppose, a difficult one to approach from a Cardiff perspective because, he needs a result to probably keep his job, and does that maybe pile on a little bit more pressure from a Cardiff perspective, would you say?
I wouldn't say so in a sense of, I'd like to think that we're respecting each opponent as they come and take it one game at a time. So I don't think there's any added pressure perhaps the variance there is that he might try a few things different. He might be a little bit more adventurous himself or cautious. Who knows? It depends on what his mindset is. So, it might throw preparations out a little bit. But, at the end of the day, when the whistle blows, it's 11 versus 11 and the game will go how the game will go. But I'd like to think it's just for Cardiff, another game at home. We're in a good patch. Let's go out and do our bit. And then, if we get a result by doing a good job, great. If it doesn't happen, as long as we put a shift in, then that's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah, before I get your score prediction, just want to get sort of where Cardiff are in terms of the team news at the moment. I know obviously the press conferences probably haven't taken place yet, but is there any and you mentioned Aaron Ramsey's out for a while. Is there any other sort of key players missing and maybe who's the one to watch on Saturday from a Cardiff perspective?
So only 2 players out, Ramsey and O'Dowda. As far as everything else, maybe just a couple of knocks and a bit of fatigue, but everyone else is fine. So I'd be very, very surprised if the back 4 and the midfield duo in the middle would change, and probably then we'll see either Robinson or Colwill starting in 10. My money would probably be on Colwill, given I don't know if you saw his goal from last weekend or the weekend just gone. Yeah. So I'd say that's probably earned him a start. We'll see Grant on one side, Mite probably up front, perhaps a Tete if he comes back as well. And then it could be Tanner or Bowler on the right-hand side. But I think, ones to watch would be whoever sits in that number 10 position from an attacking perspective. That's going to be really the key to a lot of defences. But if you are perhaps more of a defensive-minded fan or just want to see a really good footballer, watch that Siopis in midfield. He must be 5'0", but he's an absolute pit bull of Terry. He's everywhere, tenacious. He's probably the heartbeat of this side at the moment. He's a joy to watch at this championship level. So you'll enjoy that even from a Norwich perspective, I would have thought.
Yeah, so we've got to take the little positives at the moment. So I'm sure his performance will probably be better than what a Norwich City perspective will get on Saturday. And with that, going to ask you on a score prediction, Jez, and how you see this game going.
KG 15 minutes probably, perhaps a little bit more comfort with us and perhaps a bit of nerves from Norwich given the circumstances both clubs are in. I think if I was to say, I'd probably say we're going to be pretty defensively sound. So I think we're only likely to concede off maybe a set piece or a mistake if that was to happen. That's just how I feel at the moment. It sounds a bit high on confidence, but I just think we're really good at the back at the moment. So if we were to get the first goal, I'd be confident we could probably game manage it out and maybe win 1-0 and maybe a late 2-0. But if you guys get the goal, perhaps a draw. I don't know if we're quite tenacious enough going forward to overturn too many deficits at the moment. I still think we're lacking that perhaps number 9, that finisher who's going to put 15, 20 goals away. That's probably our biggest weakness, and that's probably where we're going to strengthen in January. So if I was to say anything, I'd say a 1-goal victory for Cardiff, but tight, not many goals in it.
Yeah, we'll see what we get on Saturday. Jez, do really appreciate your time this evening. Thanks for coming on. And with that, we're going to round off the show. If you want one positive stat, Norwich have won 4 of the last 5 games against Cardiff. So maybe there is that small silver lining to hold on to. Lots of great content coming up your way across our channels. Of course, we'll be speaking to David Wagner tomorrow at his press conference. So the full video will be up on our YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be heading down to Cardiff on Friday. So we'll all be at the game on Saturday. So all your news and team news and reaction you're going to get after that game, which will be, I'm sure, an interesting one from a David Wagner perspective. Regardless of the result, will all be available across our channel. So with that, we're going to sign off, and we'll see you in Wales at the weekend.